Hartzell Propeller leads the industry in composite blade technology. Our composite blades are lightweight, durable, and engineered for cutting-edge performance. Unlike aluminum or wooden blades, they can be restored to their new dimensions over and over again. They're surprisingly easy to repair. This video demonstrates repairs made to a carbon composite blade, specifically on damage done in the tip of the trailing edge. For purposes of demonstration, the blade shown in this video is the Hartzell N7605C. Before you begin your repair, you can find your specific blade model on a sticker on the cylinder of the propeller. For some earlier composites, that sticker will be on the blade. If the blade model isn't obviously identifiable, just check for it on the inspection sheet that came with your prop. Your specific blade model will be identified by the characters after the slash. Hartzell Technical Representative Kevin Ryan has taught countless classes around the globe about the intricacies of composite propeller repair. Today, he'll teach you.
Hi. Before we get started, let's look at some of the tools and materials you're going to need to perform a repair on a carbon blade. You'll need the carbon fiber repair material, a coin tapper, a sanding block and sandpaper, some vacuum bag material, a piece of 20,000 safety wire, a steel rule, a marker, some clean lint-free rags. In this case, we're using cheesecloth. Please do not use these commercially available shop rags. They are oily and they can damage your repair. The adhesive, a tape measure, a scissors, a supply of acid brushes, a rotary tool or die grinder, some solvent. In this case, we're using denatured alcohol. You can also use MEK or acetone. Some spreader plates, thin, flexible spreader plates. Some of these are masonite. A roll of tape, the appropriate colors of touch-up paint, a DA sander, and a dust mask, and a pair of safety glasses.
Before beginning any repair, you'll need to reference the Hartzell Composite Propeller Blade Field Maintenance and Minor Repair Manual. It's more simply identified as Hartzell Manual 170. You'll find Manual 170 on our website. Just type in hartzellprop.com/Manual 170, and the PDF document will download to your computer. Once Manual 170 is open, our first step is to evaluate the damage on your prop and determine whether your prop is airworthy. Click on Damage Evaluation, Chapter 2 of the manual. As you scroll down, you'll see over 36 types of repairs listed. For our repair, we classify our damage as crushed or cracked trailing edge, outboard, and tip regions of the blade. It's number 31 on the list. Click on the appropriate link and you'll end up here. Check out the blade models listed along the top of this grid and find yours. In our case, we'll be referencing the N7605C. Follow that column down to row 31 and we'll see by the X in the box that we have the specifications for that repair in the manual. You'll be directed to Table 31, Limits 3. So click on Repair Limits in the navigation on the left and scroll down to 31, Limits 3. On this page, you'll see the airworthy damage limit. The maximum permitted depth is 1/4 inch. The maximum permitted length is 2 inches. Note that a blade with damage less than the limit shown in the table, 1/4 inch deep and 2 inches wide, is still airworthy and may continue to be flown. However, it may also be repaired per instructions in this video and the manual, and that's why we're here. This table directs you to Section 4C of the Minor Repair chapter. Click on Minor Repair in your left navigation and then scroll down to click on 4C. Here you can find all the information you need to make the repair. It's the same information you'll see in this video. Now, if the damage is larger than the specs set up in the airworthy damage limits, you'll need to seek our professional help for further work on your prop.
So one of the first things we need to do to assess this damage is do a coin tap inspection. You'll have a large coin, in this case it's a bearing, and you'll tap around the damaged area to determine if the damage is just what's the visible area or whether it's deeper in the blade. So I'll tap on the blade Here you can hear what the blade would sound like. You want to tap an adjacent area to the blade because different areas of the blade sound different. So because I'm doing this tip and trailing edge area, I'm going to tap out here on the trailing edge to hear what it's supposed to sound like, and then I'll tap over by my damage. You can hear that the sound changes significantly when I tap over the damaged area. Now I'll tap below the damaged area to determine whether that damage is actually beneath the paint that you can't see. I do have some damage that's below the paint. So the first thing we're going to want to do is to remove this paint to determine the extent of the damage. What I have here is a sanding block with some 80 grit sandpaper on it. You can use a little lighter sandpaper if you'd like to, especially if it's your first time. But I'm just going to take this sanding block and I'm going to sand this paint off so I can further assess the damage.
You may notice throughout this video that other parts of the propeller blade will be shown in various stages of repair, like this and this. That's because this video was taken over a period of time when we were also creating videos for other blade repairs on 2 other sections of the blade. Of course, none of this affects the repair that we're focusing on here. It's just a simple note for your reference as we continue through the repair process.
When you're sanding, resist the temptation to wipe away the dust with your hand. On the carbon blades especially, the carbon blades tend to splinter a little bit in the damaged area, and you'll end up with a carbon splinter in your thumb or your hand or whatever, and it's very painful. And in spite of knowing exactly not to do it, I do it almost every time I work on one of these blades.
At this stage, we need to determine how deep our damaged area is and compare it to the airworthy limits that we researched earlier in the video. You'll recall that the airworthy damage limits on the prop for this repair were 1/4 inch in depth and 2 inches in length. How do you measure that damage? Let's watch this tip from one of Kevin's similar videos on a Kevlar blade.
So you can use just a regular 6-inch scale and make your measurement. And this appears to be just at 1/4 inch. And the length of the damage is about 1.5 inches. So if you remember from the manual, the airworthy damage limits on this blade is 1/4 inch in depth and 2 inches in length. So this blade, in its current condition, is airworthy. It can be flown.
The damage to our carbon composite blade is similar in scope to Kevin's Kevlar blade and falls easily within our repair limits. So let's continue our repair.
On this blade, I've got some damage that actually goes from one side of the blade to the other. It's a very small area. I'm just going to remove this damaged area here, and then I'm going to taper out from the repaired area, or the area to be repaired, I should say, about 1/2 inch bevel on either side of the repair. One thing I'll caution you, the carbon material is very strong. It's also somewhat soft. So proceed with caution when you're working on these carbon blades, because you can remove material very rapidly when you're sanding it. You can see how the carbon tends to splinter up. You'll want to avoid those splinters. To perform the repair, you're going to need to cut the repair materials. Always cut the repair materials before you mix the adhesive, The adhesive has a very short pot life, about an hour, so you need to have your repair materials cut out ahead of time before you mix the adhesive, especially if you have multiple repairs. For this repair here, I'm going to use a piece of vacuum bag material. And all I'm going to do, this vacuum bag material we're going to use later in the repair, I'm just going to place the vacuum bag material over the blade, and you can use the vacuum bag as a template to cut out your repair materials. So I'm going to cut out one piece that is my beveled area here. And then I'm going to cut out another piece that's the area that I need to fill in, where I removed the damaged material. So it's going to be about like that. Then I can use this template. I got a little too far. I can use this template to cut out my repair materials. All right, so I'm going to start cutting out the repair material for the N7605C blade. This is my carbon blade. This is my carbon repair material. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this material on my template on the material, and I'm going to cut it out. Then when I cut out the inside piece, I'm going to cant the template on the piece and cut it out so that my repair materials, once they're cut out, are at about a 45 degree angle to one another. Now I'm going to change the orientation of the material of my template, so my next piece, the weave will be at a 45 degree angle to my original piece.
Manual 170 contains suggestions for the type of adhesive you'll need to continue your repair. Typically, the adhesive is created by mixing two separate components by weight. In this case, we mix 100 parts of Part A to 33 parts of Part B. While you may buy quart kits like we use at Hartzell, it'll likely contain more than you'll need for your small repair. That's why you can also buy more economical, smaller portions from Hartzell, like a 50-gram pudding cup. In these packs, the parts are already pre-measured. You simply mix one into the other. Or there are easy packs, which feature two components divided by a plastic separator. When you pull out the separator, the materials mix in the bag.
To perform this repair, the first thing I'm going to do is wipe the area off with the alcohol, just to remove any oil or whatever from my hands, or any of the dust left over from the sanding operation. And I'll apply the adhesive to the repair area. I'm also going to take the adhesive out beyond the repair area a little bit. And because this damage is actually on both sides of the blade, I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side of the blade. I'm going to put the repair material on the face side of the blade. Then I'm going to saturate it. Then I'm going to put on my second layer. And I'm going to saturate it. This carbon material is sometimes very stiff. It can be difficult to work with on this phase of the repair. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take those repair materials and I'm going to fold them over to the front side of the blade, to the camber side of the blade. One way I found to make this a little easier, the carbon material just doesn't want to bend very well. It's fairly stiff. So you can use a piece of vacuum bag material, which you're going to cover the repair with anyway once you're finished, and just use that to sort of help you fold the piece over. All right, now I'm going to gently peel up this piece of vacuum bag. Sometimes the repair will come up with it. Beautiful. And I'm going to add an additional piece of carbon fiber over the top of it. Now this one I didn't cut the size or anything. It's just, this is going to be more or less a sacrificial layer. And most of this will get sanded off. All it's going to do is fair the repaired area in to the rest of the blade. This piece is looking a little dry, so I'm going to add just a little adhesive to it. Then I'll cover it back up with the vacuum bag material. Now, finally, I'm going to cover this repaired area up with two semi-rigid plates. I've got these plates taped together. It's masonite material. You can use just about any semi-rigid material. I'll hold these two pieces in place, and then I'll apply some pressure to the plates. I'm going to install the clamps off the repaired area so I don't damage the repair. Put that one here. Okay, the adhesive is cured. It takes 12 hours at room temperature for the adhesive to cure. So we're going to remove the clamps and the spreader plates and see how our repairs came out. I'm going to sand out this repaired tip area. You can see we've got quite a bit of adhesive that's down here on an area that doesn't need it. This adhesive can be somewhat difficult to remove. You can use a little bit heavier grit paper to remove that, but you'll have to be very cautious when you do it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to use 150 grit paper to remove this material. The carbon material sands out very nicely, but you can also sand out your entire repair fairly quickly. It seems to me, when I sand it anyway, to be softer than, say, the Kevlar material or the fiberglass material. So I'm always just a little bit more cautious when I sand out a carbon repair, and I advise you to be as well. As I get down near the end, I'm going to switch over to hand sanding. Once again, I'm using 150 grit sandpaper. It just gives you a little bit more control. Just remove the dust. Use your coin and coin tap the repaired area. It should tap out soundly with no dead spots. The area is fairly thin out here, so it does sound a little different than other areas of the blade. But that area is tapping out just fine. So now we're going to prepare this area for paint. So I'm going to mask the white stripes, what's left of them, and spray the black stripe down through the middle. It can be easy to forget to mask the leading edge. The leading edge on this blade is unpainted, so don't forget to mask that leading edge as well. There's not much paint left on this area, but what there is, I'm going to scuff up a little bit with some 400 grit sandpaper, just to make sure that the paint will adhere properly. And just before I paint, I'll remove the sanding dust with a cloth soaked with the alcohol. The paint I'm using is some black paint that is canned up for us by an outside vendor. There are also a few commercial products you can buy. You can also use the standard paint that we use here in the factory on this repair as well. It's a two-part epoxy paint. Most people either may not have the equipment or the time to be able to perform that, and you're certainly allowed to use a spray can, but I just wanted to keep in mind that the regular production type paint is also available for use for a repair like this. Ooh. I just gave it a light coat first time. You can see there's some areas that need some additional attention. I'll just allow that to dry, and I'll give it another shot until all the thin areas are completely covered. Now I'm ready to do my final white tip stripe. Once again, this is white touch-up paint in a spray can. This is canned up for Hartzell. There's a commercial spray can that's available you can purchase on the internet. And once again, you can always use the regular factory specified paint that we use during manufacture or during an overhaul. give this, right now you can still see the repair. There's some other areas out here that need a little bit of attention. But once we paint this several times, it'll look good as new. It's just going to take several coats, time and patience. This paint sprays on fairly thinly, and it is white, so coverage is an issue. But after 3 or 4 coats, this will look just like brand new. Thanks for watching this video. I hope it's done something to dispel some of the fears you may have had about working on composite bladed propellers. As you can see, the repairs aren't particularly difficult, and with a little bit of practice, you can perform them in your shop. And if you happen to run into trouble, you can always give us a call here at Hartzell or send us an email. Thanks again for watching.
For more information about Hartzell composite propeller repairs, we invite you to contact Hartzell Product Support. Call 800-942-7767 and then option number 3, or visit us online at hartzellprop.com.